3 months after my wife walked out of our marriage, she came back expecting me to forgive her. Instead, she found another woman standing in my kitchen. The look on her face is something I'll never forget. Her suitcase slipped from her hand and hit my front porch with a loud thud. "What is this?" She looked from me to the woman pouring 2 cups of coffee, then back to me. Tears instantly filled her eyes. "You moved on." I leaned against the doorway. "No." I moved forward. Those 4 words hit her harder than I ever could have. She took one shaky step toward me. "Please, can we just talk?" I studied the woman standing in front of me. 3 months earlier, I would have done anything to hear those words. 3 months earlier, I would have begged her not to leave. I would have blamed myself. I would have apologized for mistakes I never made. But the man she abandoned didn't exist anymore. "You made your choice. So am I." I gently closed the front door. She started pounding on it. "Please, Ethan. I made a mistake. I love you." I stood there with my forehead resting against the door, listening to the woman I once believed I'd grow old with. For years, I had dreamed about hearing those words. Funny how life works. Sometimes you finally get everything you wanted, only after you've stopped wanting it. 6 years earlier, Emily wasn't just my wife. She was my best friend. We met completely by accident. She spilled iced coffee all over my laptop in a crowded cafe. She spent the next 30 minutes apologizing while insisting on paying for the damage. I told her the laptop mattered less than seeing her smile again. She laughed. That laugh changed my life. 2 years later, we were married. We didn't have much money. Our apartment was tiny. The furniture didn't match. The air conditioner barely worked. But every night we fell asleep believing we could conquer the world together. Then everything changed. Emily lost her dream job during a company downsizing. A month later, her mother passed away unexpectedly. It was as if someone switched off every light inside her. The outgoing, energetic woman I married slowly disappeared. She stopped answering friends' messages. Stopped leaving the house. Stopped smiling. Some mornings she couldn't even get out of bed. When the doctors diagnosed her with severe depression, I never saw it as her problem. It became our battle. Or at least, I thought it did. I promised I'd never let her fight alone. And I kept that promise. Even after she stopped keeping hers. Every morning I woke before sunrise. I'd make breakfast, leave encouraging notes beside her coffee, then head to work. After 10 hours at the office, I'd come home, clean the house, cook dinner, wash dishes, do laundry, pay bills, and sit beside her until she finally fell asleep. I told myself love meant sacrifice. What I didn't realize was that sacrifice without balance slowly becomes self-destruction. The first year passed with more hope than progress. Every few weeks, Emily would have a good day. She'd help me make dinner. We'd watch an old movie together. She'd laugh at one of my terrible jokes. Those moments were enough to convince me that things were getting better. I lived for those moments. Unfortunately, they became fewer with every passing month. Soon, one good day was followed by 3 bad weeks. Then an entire month. Eventually, I stopped asking myself when she'd get better. Instead, I started asking myself how much longer I could keep going. One Friday afternoon, my phone buzzed while I was finishing work. It was my best friend, Chris. Poker night. 8 o'clock. No excuses. I stared at the message. The last time I'd seen my friends had been almost 8 months earlier. I smiled for what felt like the first time all week. Maybe tonight would be different. Maybe Emily was having one of her better days. When I walked through the front door, she was sitting on the couch staring out the window. "Hey," I said. She nodded without looking at me. "I was thinking about seeing the guys for a couple of hours tonight." Her shoulders immediately tensed. Oh. I won't be long. Silence. I guess that's fine. She said the words. But the disappointment on her face made me feel like I'd abandoned her. I put my keys back on the table. You know what? I'll stay. She forced a weak smile. You don't have to. But I already knew I wasn't leaving. I texted Chris. Sorry. Something came up. A few seconds later my phone rang. Dude, he sighed. This is the 5th time. I know. You've disappeared. It's complicated. No. His voice became serious. You're disappearing, Ethan. That sentence stayed with me long after the call ended. A month later, it was our wedding anniversary. 6 years. I'd secretly been planning it for weeks. I booked a table at the little restaurant where I'd proposed. Bought her favorite flowers. Even dug out our wedding album so we could look through it together afterward. When I got home, the flowers were still in my hands. Emily looked at them for only a second. I'm sorry. I can't. Just dinner. I'm too tired. We don't have to stay long. She slowly shook her head. I don't have the energy. I stood there, trying not to let the disappointment show on my face. It's our anniversary. I know. I'm sorry. Those 2 words had become the soundtrack of our marriage. I'm sorry. She was sorry she couldn't go. Sorry she couldn't smile. Sorry she couldn't be the wife she wanted to be. And somehow, I was always the one apologizing too. I'm sorry for asking. The moment those words left my mouth, something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough for me to notice. The following Monday, my manager called me into his office. Ethan, sit down. My stomach tightened. We're expanding the regional office. I nodded. We'd like you to lead the new team. It was the promotion I'd been chasing for 4 years. Better salary. Better hours. A chance to finally move forward in my career. There is one catch, he continued. It'll require occasional travel. For most people, it wasn't even a decision. For me, it felt impossible. I need a day to think. He smiled. Take your time. That evening, I told Emily. I got offered a promotion. She looked up from the couch. That's amazing. It would mean traveling once or twice a month. Her smile disappeared. So, you'd leave me alone? Only for a day or 2. I don't think I could handle that. The excitement I'd carried home vanished instantly. The next morning, I turned the promotion down. My manager looked genuinely confused. Are you sure? Yeah. It's the right decision. As I walked back to my desk, I realized something. I couldn't remember the last decision I'd made for myself. Every choice, every plan, every dream had slowly been replaced by one question. What does Emily need? I never stopped to ask. What do I need? I wouldn't get the answer until months later. And by then, it would already be too late to save my marriage. About 2 months after I turned down the promotion, Emily told me she wanted to try a new therapist. I didn't hesitate. If you think it'll help, I'll support you. She smiled. A real smile. It was the first genuine one I'd seen in months. I drove her to every appointment. Waited outside. Bought her favorite coffee afterward. Every little improvement filled me with hope. Then one Thursday evening, she asked if we could talk. There was something different about her. She looked nervous. Ethan. I've been talking about us in therapy. I nodded. Okay. My therapist thinks. She paused. That I've become emotionally dependent on you. I frowned. What does that mean? She thinks I've forgotten who I am because you've been taking care of everything. I stayed quiet. She says maybe. Maybe I need some space. I blinked. Space. Just for a while. You mean, like a weekend? She slowly shook her head. I was thinking about staying with my sister. The room suddenly felt much smaller. For how long? I don't know. You want to leave? It's not forever. It feels like forever. She reached for my hand. I'm trying to save us. I looked into her eyes. For the first time. I wasn't sure she believed what she was saying. 3 days later, I loaded 2 suitcases into her sister's car. Neither of us cried. Maybe we'd already cried too much over the years. She hugged me tightly. I'll call every day. I'll be waiting. As the car drove away, I stood in the driveway until it disappeared around the corner. The silence inside the house was unbearable. The first night, I barely slept. The second night, I kept checking my phone. The third night, I realized no one had called my name once all day. It was strangely peaceful. That thought made me feel guilty. The first month apart was miserable. I called her almost every evening. Sometimes she answered. Sometimes she texted instead. Her replies became shorter every week. I'm okay. Still working on myself. Talk later. Eventually, I stopped calling. Not because I stopped caring. Because I was tired of chasing someone who had chosen to walk away. One Saturday morning, Chris knocked on my front door. You look terrible. I've been better. He tossed me a set of car keys. Come on. Where? You'll see. An hour later, I was standing beside a quiet lake with 3 friends I hadn't seen in over a year. We grilled burgers. Laughed until our stomachs hurt. Told stories from college. For the first time in years. No one needed me. No one depended on me. I was just Ethan. Not a caretaker. Not a therapist. Not someone's emotional crutch. Just me. Driving home that evening, I caught myself smiling. A real smile. I honestly couldn't remember the last time I'd done that. That summer changed everything. I accepted another promotion. Started going to the gym before work. Reconnected with my younger brother. Even adopted an old rescue dog that followed me everywhere. Little by little, the man I'd lost started coming back. People at work noticed. You seem different. I feel different. For years I believed happiness meant sacrificing myself for someone else. Now I was beginning to understand something I'd never been taught. Love isn't supposed to erase you. The right relationship should make both people stronger. Not leave one carrying the weight of 2 lives. Exactly 3 months after Emily left, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, there she was. Suitcase in hand. I swollen from crying. I've made the biggest mistake of my life. She threw her arms around me. I didn't hug her back. She slowly stepped away. I finally understand. My therapist was wrong. I kept blaming our marriage because it was easier than facing my own pain. I've spent 3 months realizing something. What? You never stopped loving me. You never stopped fighting. I was the one who walked away. Tears streamed down her face. Please? Come home. I looked at the woman I'd spent years trying to save. The old Ethan would have said yes before she finished the sentence. But the man standing there wasn't the same man she'd left behind. I forgive you. Hope filled her eyes. But I'm not taking you back. Her smile disappeared. What? I forgave you weeks ago. I just finally forgave myself too. She covered her mouth as tears poured down her face. I'll change. I believe you. We can start over. I gently shook my head. No. Why? Because I finally understand something. You weren't the only one who needed saving. I smiled sadly. I did too. And I finally saved myself. She cried harder than I'd ever seen before. Not because I yelled. Not because I insulted her. Because she realized she'd come back for a man who no longer existed. I wished her the best. Closed the door. And stood there quietly. Not celebrating. Not angry. Just free. Sometimes people think revenge is making someone suffer. They're wrong. The greatest revenge is becoming so happy, so confident, and so at peace with yourself that the person who broke your heart can never break it again. Losing my marriage wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of finally finding myself. And looking back, that's the happiest ending I could have ever hoped for.